Welcome to Myanmar Radio's Myanmar Today. I'm Melody, and here are today's reports. Total numbers of the confirmed cases pass 5,000 nationwide. Domestic fuel market finds difficulty in returning to normal. All of related businesses face drawbacks as passenger figure drops. Pyin Lwin's travel spot runs only for renovation and security reasons. Before we get to the reports, let's take a look at the feature local news for today. The Union Election Commission and Myanmar Press Council jointly organized an online 2020 general election and news media role meeting on Saturday, and UEC Chairman Lwin was present on the occasion. Myanmar Press Council Chairperson Handawati Onjain, the UEC members, the officials with the UEC office, and the Myanmar Press Council, the officials with UNESCO, and media personnel with News Media Group, among others, attended the meeting. Union Election Commission member Myanmar and the officials with Myanmar Press Council briefed on the matters pertaining to the 2020 general election and the role of news media during the general elections. Then a question and answer session was held, and UEC member Myanmar answered the questions raised by the attending media personnel. We Love Yangon charity organization and its brother organization, We Love Sanchang, provided food and drinking water bottles to 50 households that have been put under lockdown in Sanchang Township through door-to-door service on Friday evening. The chairman of We Love Sanchang said they were not allowed to enter the yellow line of restricted areas. When they made donation, the town elders and volunteers accepted the donation, and through them, the donation was distributed to households. Many households in Minigon and Sanchang townships have been put under lockdown. We Love Sanchang provided drinking water bottles and food worth 1.5 million jets to 50 households under the lockdown with a contribution of well-wishers and its members. According to the committee's vice chair, Professor Dr. Zhao Wei-so, Yangon's COVID-19 Prevention, Control, and Treatment Committee is preparing COVID-19 centers as soon as possible to accommodate more than 4,000 COVID-19 patients due to the resurgence of the COVID-19 positive cases in Yangon. It is expected that there will be 300 or 400 COVID-19 new patients per day in Yangon. A patient needs to be under treatment at the hospital for 2 weeks in order to stop the infection to others. Aoi Foundation is building a temporary hospital for 400 patients in Duina Stadium. The committee is also preparing Yoma Temporary Hospital to accommodate up to 1,500 patients and Line COVID-19 Treatment Center to accommodate up to 1,000 patients. According to the professor, Dr. Zhao Wei-so, this arrangement will let the hospitals to operate in the kind of 300 patients in and 300 patients out, and if necessary, there are other stadiums to use as temporary hospitals. And I believe it's time now for our first report. COVID-19 positive cases have been climbing up since mid-August, reaching over 5,000 nationwide. Myanmar COVID-19 cases hit 1,000 on the 3rd of September, 2,000 on the 10th of September, and 3,000 on the 14th of September. Last Thursday, the cases reached over 4,000, and within 3 days, the cases passed over 5,000 as of the announcement made on Sunday morning.
COVID-19 positive cases have been climbing up since the mid-August, reaching over 5,000 nationwide. Myanmar COVID-19 cases hit 1,000 on 3rd September, 2,000 on 10th September, and 3,000 on 14th September. On the 17th September, the cases reached over 4,000, and within 3 days, the cases passed over 5,000 as of the announcement made on the morning of 20th September. Despite the cases surge in the country, Professor Soweso, the vice chairman of Yangon's coordinating COVID-19 prevention, control and treatment committee, spoke to MI Radio how the treatment system is working. He said,
the COVID-19 cases are increasing day by day a lot. Our country has also increased a lot these days. So in this current situation, we're trying to control the infection. As the number of infection cases are increasing a lot, we're trying to provide enough facility quarantine centers. We have over 4,000 centers, but we're trying to provide 5,000 quarantine centers across the country. We're also going to implement community-based facility quarantine centers in each township as soon as possible. The makeshift hospital in Lwin can hold over 400 patients, and we're going to build some temporary hospitals. In these temporary hospitals, the mild patients, the moderate patients, and the patients who didn't show any symptoms have to receive medical treatments. If those patients have some critical conditions, we will send them to Weibagi Specialist Hospital and the Maternal and Child Hospital in South Okalapa to receive medical treatments. In this current situation, the death rate also increased. The patients have to tell their medical history openly to doctors and nurses so that we can manage to give them right medical treatment. Even though most of the death cases are from the elderly persons, young people shouldn't be careless with the infection. Once they are infected, they have to suffer side effects of the infections through the whole lives.
The numbers of the confirmed COVID-19 cases in the country were 404 confirmed cases within a day on the 17th of September. On the 19th of September, it broke the record with a total of 642 confirmed cases reported in the country. For the increase in the number of confirmed cases, the confirmed cases in the country reached beyond 5,000. The Ministry of Health and Sports also warned that the current COVID-19 type that is plaguing the country has faster infection rate and is just as virulent as the slower types. Union Minister Dr. Myanmar Today of the Ministry of Health and Sports also called for the public cooperation in disease control measures with regard to health, political, economic and social issues, and the important role of local governments is to address the second wave of the pandemic in the table exercise. Myanmar regional representative from Lwin Township spoke to MI Radio that the people participation is very important in controlling the infections.
As the Township COVID-19 Prevention Committee has made contact tracings, we also put some people who have lost ability to taste and smell to the Township facility quarantine centers and took the swab tests. In the Township, the numbers of the cases increased by comparing to the fast period. All the people in our Township are working class people. Some forgot to follow the rules, but now they all follow the rules. All the ward administrators are assigned to monitor them. As the numbers of the cases are increasing a lot, we all have to do is to follow the stay-at-home rules and health guidelines from the Ministry of Health and Sports.
The newly confirmed cases brought the number of the infectious cases of COVID-19 in the country to 5,805 in total, with 1,260 patients allowed to be discharged from the hospital so far. According to the ministry's figures, on the 20th September, a total of 94 deaths have been reported so far.
That's the report on total numbers of the confirmed cases past 5,000 nationwide. After the government had relaxed the restrictions with regard to COVID-19, the sales in the domestic fuel market rebounded in June this year. However, the resurgence of the outbreak has emerged immediately since the mid of September in the country. So the fuel importers and traders said there would be difficulties in recovery for the newly revived fuel market, and the local fuel market will find difficulties in returning to normalcy as well.
The domestic fuel market, which has been hit by COVID-19, is finding a hard time in returning to normalcy, according to local market insiders. After the government had relaxed the restrictions with regard to COVID-19, the sales in the domestic fuel market rebounded in June this year. However, the resurgence of the outbreak has emerged immediately since 16 August in the country. So some fuel importers and traders said there would be difficulty in recovery for the newly revived fuel market, and the local fuel market would find difficulty in returning to normalcy as well. At the end of 2019, before the pandemic, the fuel prices per liter were 800 jets for octane 92, 870 jets for 95, and 850 jets for premium diesel, and 840 jets for regular diesel, according to the lower wholesale price. At present, the prices are dropping to 438 jets for octane 92, 465 jets for 95, and 435 jets for premium diesel, and 425 jets for regular diesel. Myanmar Today CEO of MK Fuels Distribution, which is operating with more than 100 employees, said.
In the current situation, there are traders who have imported the fuels and oils just before the resurgence of COVID-19, and even now some are still importing to Myanmar. All of these importers lost about 50 jets to 60 jets per liter. If we say in deep insight, 2020 becomes the worst year recorded in the history for fuel market. The fuel prices have increased from the lowest prices since May. In July and August, the prices rebounded and peaked again. It was the rainy season and other construction machineries, roads, bridges and mines were on temporary suspension with the resurgence of the virus. All highway bus routes are also closed. In coming third week of September, the farmers will be able to harvest paddy in some areas. I think demand will depend on this rising consumption.
Importing fuels in the country requires a contract with a foreign company, and every fuel distribution company has a contract for at least 1 year. According to the shipment, the fuel importing ship will be able to enter regularly. At least 20,000 tons of fuel has to be taken by the company. Myanmar reviews that.
According to the current situation, in my opinion, the fuel market won't be rising too much or decreasing too much till the end of the year. Sometimes a country announces about the vaccine. In that case, the price will have a slight impact.
Mainly, the fuel on the market is imported from Singapore, and they are being stored and distributed at the terminals built in Tilawa for the past 6 years and 10 years ago. Dr. Lwin, secretary of the Myanmar Petroleum Trade Association, described the situation after the state-owned fuel distribution company was privatized.
It was an important turning point for the fuel industry. At the time, the traders asked for free market economy while privatization. Because of the free market economy, any traders can freely import the fuel, and the competitions have also risen. As a result of the market competition, we can provide the best service to our consumers. The fuel market in our country has always been in line with international prices. If the price goes up abroad, the local price will be also the same matter. If the price goes down abroad, it will be the same locally.
In Myanmar, the fuel industry was started by the Ministry of Energy, and it was privatized for more than 10 years ago. According to the market insiders, there are 80 individuals who are importing the fuel into Myanmar, but it is now countable fuel importers in the market.
That's the report on domestic fuel markets find difficulty in returning to normal. Moving on to the third report. The resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic affected the drawbacks of related businesses as the number of passengers are dropping. Starting from mid-September, the passengers are decreasing due to stay-at-home orders, and the related businesses are facing difficulties at the same time.
All of the related businesses are facing drawbacks as the number of passengers is dropping due to COVID-19 pandemic, according to the dealers from Dalat Township located on the other side of Yangon River. The stay-at-home order has been imposed in most of the townships in Yangon region. COVID-19 committees have issued healthcare guidelines to the respective townships. The number of passengers is remarkably decreasing from the mid of September, and the related businesses are facing difficulties at the same time. Dr. Pyin, manager of Inland Water Transport of the Dalat Township, said.
Here, the passenger rate is dropping down as the resurgence occurs. We are providing services following the instructions of our department. The number of passengers has fallen these days. We are trying to give our best services to the people, although we were facing a fall in our income as we have got no passengers. We have arranged 13 hand wash basins for the passengers in our ticketing stations. We also provide the soap oils for the passengers to wash their hands. We also published the virus protection instructions issued by the Ministry of Health and Sports.
For the time being, there are rarely comers from the townships from the Delta region to Dalat. Most people in Yangon are now staying at home, except the people who have urgent matter to go out. So the business concerning the transport sector are facing with problems. A motorbike carry driver from the Dalat side spoke to MI Radio about the current situations they are facing now. Gopyo Koko, motorbike carry driver from Dalat Township, said.
To
do for a living is difficult in this COVID-19 period. It was easy to earn a living in the past. In the past, we could make at least 10,000 chats per day when we do motorbike carry business. Since the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic, our business has not gone well. Now it is quite difficult to get motorbike carry passengers. Most of the works have been closed, and the unemployed are now doing our business. So we are facing a lot of difficulties. Even with these conditions, we have to work for our living while protecting ourselves. We start working at 6 a.m. and end at 10 p.m., but there are no passengers. We are facing a harder time unlike in the past. Those who have families and children are in troubles. We will try our best, but we would like some help if possible.
The restaurants have to serve the takeaway systems and the sales are dropping. As the dine-in service is restricted, there are no regular customers having tea in the afternoon like before. These restaurants have to come to Yangon and do shopping. But now the sales are dropping and they are desperately trying to get the first customer so they can do shopping only once a week. In connection with these activities, the number of passengers on the ships has significantly decreased, and these conditions are causing difficulties. Umang Manso, sampan driver, said.
I
have been driving sampan for over 30 years, and I have never faced that kind of experience before. Now there is no passenger at all. Before this period, I could not take a rest for a while due to the demand of passengers. During this period, I drive my sampan at least once a day for a round trip. It is very difficult to stand and it can't cover our family expenses. The strict restrictions on travel, the closure of the businesses, and the health guidelines are the reasons for fewer passengers.
In spite of facing difficulties affected by COVID-19, the Inland Water Transport is striving for smooth and secure transport in cooperation with the Township and District General Administration Offices of Yangon Region Government and relevant departments. On the other hand, anti-COVID-19 measures such as banning on crowds and disinfections are being carried out along with the announcement of directives.
That's the report on all of related businesses face drawbacks as passenger figure drops. Let's move on to the last report for the day. Lwin is home to around 250,000 people, and large parts of its economy depend on tourism. The city hosted around 2,000 foreign tourists and 10,000 local visitors per month. Now, local residents and businesses said the number of tourists has dropped to almost zero for over 6 months.
Lwin, also known as Mimyo, a scenic hill town in the Mandalay region, is far some 67 kilometers away from the east of Mandalay City. Lwin, with its cool weather, glittering pagodas, anti-colonial buildings, waterfalls, and gardens with abundance of flowers, is popular among many foreign and domestic tourists. Lwin is home to around 250,000 people, and large parts of its economy depend on tourism. The city hosted around 2,000 foreign tourists and 10,000 local visitors per month. Now, local residents and the businesses said that the number of tourists has dropped to almost zero for over 6 months. Speaking to MI Radio about the closure and renovation of the pagodas in Lwin, Uzo chairperson of Board of Trustees of Maha and Chukanda Pagoda said.
The pagodas are meant for the public, and it is a kind of public place. But since the beginning of COVID-19, the pagodas are not permitted to accept the worshippers. So during these 6 months of closure, we only opened a few days, like Waso Full Moon Day, for a sermon with some limited number of people with permission. At the time, we only allowed 15 worshippers for one group for worshipping. We also arranged for preventative measures like hand wash basins, hand sanitizers, face mask, and temperature gun. Except from that day, pagodas here are completely closed for over 6 months already. This year, the Board of Trustees has planned to renovate the ceilings and buildings as some are damaged by the weather. But we met with this pandemic amid the renovation works, so the renovation works for the pagodas are also delayed. But we're trying to offer a gold robe within this month. The worshippers can see and pray the pagoda even from some distance. Food offering to Buddha images, pagodas, maintenance, security, and gardening are being performed as usual under the management of Board of Trustees. We are managing all maintenance works to be ready to reopen as soon as permission is announced.
Pyin Cave, also known as Mahanadamu Cave, is a limestone cave estimated between 230 million and 310 million years old. It is located on 12 miles east of Lwin town and is one of the interest sites for the domestic and international tourists. There are about 800,000 tourists used to visit Pyin Cave every year. Amid the pandemic, Pyin has closed without even a tourist for over 6 months. Ukimanglo, chairperson of Board of Trustees of Mahanadamu Cave, said.
We have
closed the cave since the end of March. It has been over 6 months for now. The city management committee instructed with official letters to close the cave. So, we have closed for long and there is no money donation for the cave. The members of Board of Trustees for the cave are always visiting to the cave for the reason of maintenance and security. As there are no tourists at present, we have implemented the renovation of the cave inside. For the outside of the cave, we are also paving the street and repair the floor continuously since the beginning of the crisis. As the cave has been closed for long, the most important thing is the security role. We have planned for the security of the cave well, and we are preparing our renovation processes for the best.
In Lwin, it is not just the tourism industry suffering the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The real estate firms, the food vendors, and transportation drivers are also the same matter.
That's the report on Lwin's travel spot runs only for renovation and security reasons. Now to international news. A U.S. judge early on Sunday blocked U.S. Commerce Department from requiring Apple Incorporated and Alphabet Incorporated's Google to remove Chinese-owned messaging app WeChat for downloads by late Sunday. Reuters reported U.S. Magistrate Judge Laurel Beeler in San Francisco said in an order that WeChat users who filed a lawsuit, quote, have shown serious questions going to the merits of the First Amendment claim. The balance of hardship tips in the plaintiff's favor. End quote. On Friday, the U.S. Commerce Department issued an order citing national security grounds to block the app from U.S. app stores owned by Tencent Holdings. The U.S. Commerce Department did not immediately comment. Some of the world's biggest companies on Monday backed growing calls for governments to do more to reverse the accelerated destruction of the natural world and support broader efforts to fight climate change. More than 560 companies with combined revenues of $4 trillion, including Walmart, Citigroup, and Microsoft, signed up to a statement calling for action over the next decade. The call comes as the United Nations prepares to host a biodiversity summit later this month, aiming to build momentum towards forging a new global pact to ward off threats to nature, exemplified by recent fires in the Amazon and California. While many of the companies said they were already taking steps to make their operations greener, governments needed to provide the policies that would allow them to do more. Business for Nature, the coalition which organized the statement, said it was the first time so many companies had issued a joint call emphasizing the crucial role healthy ecosystems play in human well-being. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg leaves behind a legacy and her vacant seat. Her death has set off a heated political battle over who should pick her replacement and when, all because the presidential election is so close. Historically, confirming Supreme Court justices has taken from more than 100 days to as little as 50 days. Britt Conway explains what goes on during the process.
Justice Ginsburg's hearing was in 1993.
Those who have expected great things of Ruth Ginsburg have always gotten what they bargained for.
After the hearing, the nomination heads to the full Senate for debate before the final vote, something Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has already promised to make happen. It takes 51 votes for the next justice to be sworn in.
That's all with the news and reports on Myanmar Today. Hope everyone is staying safe.